to make good decisions regarding your investments, you need both courage and brains, but you need them in different amounts at different times. Let's go for a walk and I'll tell you why, and I'll share with you when you need one and when you need the other. Okay, let's talk about courage. Courage you need when the market is down. It's a scary time. And the reason I say you don't need as much brains, obviously you always need brains, but the reason you don't need as much brains when times are scary is because prices are so low, right? Imagine you go to the market and whatever you buy, it's like Black Friday, right? And everything's half price. You don't have to be quite as discerning because the prices are so low. So during market downturns is when courage is the most valued. And the volatility and the sleep at night, the potential loss of sleep at night factor is the price that you pay for stocks. It's one of the reasons that over a long horizon, historically, no guarantees, and this isn't financial advice, but historically stocks have done better. And the reason for that is because people need a premium to put up with that roller coaster ride. And it's really easy to say you're a long-term investor when things are going well and you won't get scared later. But the reality is when the market goes down like in 2008, 2009, or the first couple months of COVID, that takes anybody's breath away. It really does some serious soul searching, right? In both of those cases, we didn't know what the future held. We didn't know if there was going to be a depression that came out of either one of those. And so that's the first stage, is you need courage when the market's down. Now, when the market's doing well, and as I record this, the market's just finished, or not finished yet, but we're 3/4 of the way through a pretty solid year. But the price of that, yes, it's nice to see your 401k balances go up, but the price of that is you have to be discerning, right? You have to run the numbers. You can't just indiscriminately buy assets because assets are expensive. So again, you need courage and you need brains. You need them at different times and you need them in different measures along the way. Another thing, and really this is super, super important, you need a long-term asset allocation. Yeah, trying to time in and out of the market, in my opinion, again, not financial advice, but in my opinion, that's a loser's game. And you're much better off coming up with an allocation that you can stick with in scary times and that you can stick with in good times. Part of the time you should be wishing, you know what, I really wish I had more stocks. I really wish I had more equity exposure. And part of the time you really should be thinking, I wish I didn't have any of this, any of the stocks. But if you can balance that out, if you can get it right where, you have, in both times, you're never fully satisfied, but overall you can stay the course. I think those are the people that do the best and are likely going to achieve their goals. And I want to remind you that, roughly 80% of an investor's returns are going to be based on their long-term asset allocation. How much you have exposed to stocks, how much you have exposed to bonds. And then in addition to that, it's which stocks that you have. Now, clearly, there's exceptions to that, right? There's people that have a 1-stock portfolio or a 3-stock portfolio. And so, yes, asset allocation is important for theirs as well, but the stock selected makes a huge difference. But for most of us that are going to have a diversified portfolio, it's much more important to have that long-term allocation. So how do you find out what that long-term allocation is? What's right for you? And I wish that there was an online calculator or survey that you could take that would tell you what that asset allocation is. but it's as much of a science as it is an art. And so again, I'm biased. That's why I think you should work with a fee-only financial advisor, somebody that's helped hundreds of families go through this in the past. They have both the academic answer, but then also the real world experience of helping real families navigate challenging situations. It's not unusual for two families on paper to have very similar situations, but possibly different asset allocations depending on who they are as humans, what their goals are, what their, how scary risk is going to be for them. And, many viewers of my channel are over 40. For those of us that are, over 50 and approaching retirement age, one thing I want to share with you is your risk tolerance today and how painful maybe volatility, the ups and downs on your account, how painful that feels to you is likely going to change over time. Volatility, your account being down 20 or 30%, which most people that lived through 2008, 2009, they saw that, they felt that. And could that happen again? There's no guarantees. I don't have a crystal ball, but yes, I think it could. And in fact, I think it's more likely to happen over the next 20 or 30 years than for it to not happen, at least for a period of time. But I want to share with you that how volatility feels for you is going to be amplified after you quit working, after you're not in a situation where you can refill your retirement coffers. So be aware that just oftentimes particularly with entrepreneurs, somebody that's, maybe run a company for 10, 15, 20 years, and then after years and years of hard work and sweat and sleepless nights, they have a nice liquidity event. And it's not unusual for somebody in that situation to say, oh, I have a high tolerance for risk. Well, you did in the past, and you were one of the founders. You had your hand on the levers that control things. Risk is going to feel different when you're not in that situation. So, I was talking earlier about the asset allocation and getting that right, and I started the video talking about courage and brains. I think the smartest thing most people can do is say, I refuse to play the game. I'm not going to put myself in a situation where I need a lot of courage or where I need a lot of brains in order to survive whatever period of time that you're currently going through. So I think the smartest move is to not play the game, but rather have a long-term asset allocation that you and a professional have sat down with, and that you feel you have a really good chance of weathering both good times and bad times. And I think that results in people having much more money for retirement later on. And if you want to see what it takes to be a top 1% retiree, I want you to watch the video up here where I talk about what the top 1% of retiree income looks like. Because that's what we'd all love to have, and I hope you get it as well. Thank you for watching.